My guest this morning, get that out of the way, an old friend of the house, goes way back. He's been quite a stranger, Honorable Dio Bush Alebioshu. Honorable Dio Bush is a former member of the House of Representatives, and this goes back to the 6th and the 7th session of the National Assembly.
Correct.
It's a great pleasure to have you once again.
It's lovely to see you again.
Thank you very much for coming on. Okay, so you're a front runner in your party APC. In fact, you served before going to the National Assembly. You were in the cabinet, so to speak. I mean, you were special advisor on housing, a special assistant on housing to Governor Tinubu, as he then was.
Correct.
Back in the day. So you've had this association with him for quite a while, and I guess we could pick your brains a bit about your perspective on what to expect in terms of national development. In other words, setting an agenda for the Tinubu administration. Now, the mere announcement, where he's being sworn in, you look at the papers and you see that the investors reacted positively when you look at the money markets, the stock exchange, and all of that. At the same time, there's a sort of a nationwide, I wouldn't go as far as calling it a chaos, but pains galore that we probably shouldn't have had. But give me your take on, one, what has happened, that is to say, following the announcement of the removal of subsidy, which President Tinubu confirmed in his inaugural address. Right. But there's been explanation since then that, look, calm down. All of us be calming down. It's not kicking off immediately, not until June. All that the president said was that there was no budget for it. And this has been interpreted as it has been. And before we know where we are, there's panic buying, reports of people buying fuel anywhere up to 600 naira, anywhere from, when you see 200 naira, 250 naira, you quickly grab that. So give me your thoughts on, one, how we shall get over this hump, and then two, what to look forward to in our administration of Ashwaji Bola Ahmed Tinubu.
Well, I would say he's who I will call an innovator. He ranks amongst the very few 2.5% you normally have as innovators. And if you listened to his inaugural speech, he touched on a few things on what to expect.
That's right.
All through his campaign, he had mentioned that he had talked on his sentiments about as regards the fuel subsidy. We all know what has been the issue we'd had in the past, especially at the National Assembly. Investigations into oil subsidy and things like that. And we all know it's out there. Are the people really benefiting from it? He understands the terrain. He appreciates and understands that we need to fix education. We need to fix our currency, our foreign currency. We need to our exchange rates. We need to fix interest rates. And when he mentioned that there wasn't going to be anything as regards, that there was not going to be any subsidy, they haven't even come out. This administration hasn't even thrown out there what they will be doing. He was just snippets of what to expect, and boom, within a 12-hour period,
yes,
we can see that there are actually people out there who decided to take advantage of that. Because if they were actually selling freely, what's the reason for the queues we're seeing? There's none.
Well, these things happen when unfortunately, it is perhaps our current level of development. As soon as people see that they can make a fast buck here, right, they dive in. And the EFCC, right, where DSS allegedly, reportedly barricaded the entrance to the EFCC office in Awolowo Road in Ikoyi. Some dispute, some spat about ownership of the place. Why are all of these things happening, or are they to be expected? expected, or do we just need a bit more discipline? At least, thankfully, I saw something in the papers that the president has directed that the barricade or whatever it is properly called be removed. So it looks like people will be trying to see how much they can get away with. In that term, how resolute a man, from your knowledge, do you think the president is? Can you get away with some things that are, smelling a bit fishy?
He's somebody who doesn't shoot and hope. He's somebody who aims before he fires. And we need to understand, I mean, you remember in those days, every administration had tried to effect the use of seatbelts. It didn't happen until and even the years after he left as governor, people are still afraid, because if you did the one-way thing, you had to go for some mental analysis and things. He's somebody, we've had presidents, but we now have a leader, as far as I'm concerned, the much I know of him. A good example is some decisions he would take as required by his duties, his job, will not be popular, but they will be effective as required by the Constitution. He's already spoken, like you said, on that issue. He made it clear he was not afraid of losing the elections when he said, listen, when I get there, we're going to kick out, there's not going to be anything like subsidy.
He said it.
Yes, he said it before
he was speaking with the business community.
Absolutely.
And that's why you have
in the public
business interests, identifying with him.
Absolutely.
Saying that, yep, it's long overdue.
Absolutely, absolutely. Of what use has it been to anybody? We also need to understand that there's going to be need for what you call consequences and repercussion. For those who take advantage, undue advantage of the system, means it would be putting serious strain. Do you know how much the economy will lose as a result of cars, vehicles going to queue up? So rather than you might end up being on the queue for another 6, 7, 8 hours. That's the period you need for a proper working, a productive period. So they're denting or putting dents on the economy. What we need right now, it's like a song. No song is complete without a chorus. If we have a good lead singer, we need to have great backups.
And that is what we hope, indeed, will be what everybody will do. Because it's far too early, some people are saying, for us to be running into these kind of challenges. Now Labour wants to get in on the matter. But the one thing we know about Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, not sort of instigating anybody against anybody, but, when he will call it the way it needs to be called.
That's right.
Even if there are times when, even it happened during his whole campaign, there are times when people who were his supporters have said, oh, hasn't he gone a bit too far? Oh, now he's gone and junked everything. It turned out to have been the right decision. And now we have this situation where he said there at the inauguration that it's gone. And it's like that was the catalyst for everything. Oh, it's gone. Now, some people are saying perhaps the president needn't have spoken so forthrightly.
I disagree. I think we've gotten used to telling our leaders what to do, or the president what to do. This is a president who knows what to do, and he's sticking to his guns. When you're not sure of your decisions and you get criticism, it affects you. It's natural for you to want to pull back a bit. But when you're sure, you're certain, you know what you're talking about, you know your onions, no matter what's thrown at you, you remain resolute. Because the whole point is to make sure you deliver on your promises, on what's expected. And that's what he's doing. He's not waiting to listen to anything. He's not being reactive, he's being proactive, let's put it that way.
Because he's looked at the situation. Because this reminds me, what you just said reminds me about, forgive the analogy, even Nigerian soccer. You see that everybody at home is an expert.
That's right.
On who the coach should field and how the run of play should go. And we sort of take that for granted, that's the way it is. But this governance is not a game of soccer. We've been talking about Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu being a leader, he's a strategist, and as you've just said, he studies the situation, he knows, he determines what is right, and this would have taken in all sorts of inputs. And so he would then, popular or not, say, this is the way it must go. But I recall when he was meeting with the business leaders in Lagos, one of the innumerable meetings he had of that kind, and he said, look, let us just not frig around on this whole idea. Subsidy will have to go. And there was applause at the time, but he's been forthright about this. And then Babatunde Raji Fashola, the Honorable Minister, well, former, I think now we talk of him in terms of, it's just 2 days a day, the former Minister of Housing.
As of a couple of days ago.
Yes. He sort of dropped it gently that you keep on asking me about all of these things. Subsidy has gone. People didn't take too much notice until the big man himself said, it's gone. There is no provision for it in the budget.
He was emphatic about it.
Yes.
So
we can expect this kind of bold decisions, right?
Absolutely.
We can expect this kind of bold decisions.
Oh, absolutely.
Because we've heard in the past where leaders say, I will do the needful no matter whose ox is God, no matter how many powerful toes I step on, that kind of a thing. I will do the needful if it is about the advancement of Nigeria.
Correct.
The development of Nigeria.
Well, he's been, like you said, he's been pretty open and straightforward about it, because if he hadn't then and just wanted to win elections, it would have meant that he took advantage of the electorate. And he would have probably spent the first 6 months to a year trying to fix that relationship with the electorate, with the people. And when you look across the globe, you would discover that no government, no administration makes it without the support of the people. And besides that we know, it's also important to note that every administration will have a defining crisis.
Okay.
We're not sure what the defining crisis will be in this case, but he wants to take care of, I'm seeing it that he wants to take care of those things he's certain of. Every leader comes into office with passion. There are certain things they're going to be very passionate about, and that's why some things he seemed a bit passive about, and some things he was emphatic about, like this has to go. He had said something like, oh, well, just from what I'm hearing, the much I've heard, he hasn't had the opportunity to look fully into it, to some of those things, and that was why he was a bit passive about it. But he's somebody his nature is competitive, in a good way. He's driven, and he's broken practically all barriers. Right now, his competitiveness, I would assume, would want to project him in the area of wanting to leave a long-lasting legacy. There isn't another shot after this. He'll do a term or 2 terms, God willing. What does he leave behind after that? A legacy. And that's what I believe he's working towards right now.
Well, he's certainly starting off with the tough end of the stick, so to speak, but then perhaps that's the nature of the man. Can we get all of those out of the way so we can get down to the real business of governance?
Absolutely.
Good morning, Mr. George, and thank you for calling in. Good morning.
Good morning, Uncle Yori, and good morning to your guest.
Yes, thank you.
Uncle Yori, let me first of all congratulate Nigerians for the dawn of a new era. I am particularly proud that Asiwaju has come to the table. And it is time to let right-thinking people know that the prophets of doom in this country have been put where they belong. I hope people learn lessons from this. Coming to the subject of the day, Uncle Yori, I am not an advocate of subsidy removal, but with the advent of Dangote refinery, everybody knew that the days of subsidy were already, over, because the refinery of Alhaji Dangote will come on, I'm told, latest in August. So it's just about 2 months away from now. So the question of subsidy or no subsidy, is it 60 days subsidy we should be talking about? I think what needs to be done now is for the government to take action against people who are taking undue advantage of the statements the president made. The fuel in their kitty now was not bought at the unsubsidized rate. They bought it, it was subsidized, and they are hoarding it. These are the same people that will be blaming the government for anything that goes wrong in the society. They forget that people get a leadership that they deserve. So that is where the issue should be now. I'm happy. I like the way the president is taking off. Yesterday, I saw something that happened between two security agencies. Within hours, we heard from the president. That is how it should be. The president gave an order, and that's how I expect this, our insecurity in this country to be tackled. People are looking at the body language of the leader. Anything he doesn't want, they know that he can't fly, and they will be very skeptical in doing it. This is the way you will see. Uncle Yori, I have been watching. For the past 3-4 days, we have not heard of kidnapping and killings that are happening virtually every day. 40 people will be killed at a spot in one day, and it will look as if they were just chicken, and life just goes on like that. This is not going to be that type of government. I'm really proud to be a Nigerian this time, and I will continue to do what I need to do in this country as an individual to make sure we are all proud of this country. Good morning.
Thank you very much for calling in, Mr. George. Him speaking about responsiveness there, expecting responsiveness from leadership, and that was just one of those instances. But it still is painful that there are fellow Nigerians that are taking undue advantage. As he explained it, I think you've already referred to it. The fuel that we're talking about now was not bought at the new price that these guys are selling it Absolutely. At. So why they are doing that? Sometimes you don't even know when you begin to soliloquize. Why are we ready to do almost anything for money?
To be honest with you, I'm actually glad that this is starting off like this, and I'll explain why. I think there's need, it's cultural, it's a cultural issue, regardless of whatever part of Nigeria you're from. It's a national cultural issue that needs to be fixed. And that's one of the things I'm really hoping to see in Asiwaju's administration, is where the National Orientation Agency is really gingered to do a lot. There's need to reform, to change how we think.
Okay.
And culture, what is culture? Culture is nothing but the collective way through which we see things. When we're able to influence that and change that, then it has a lot of impact on a lot of things that we do. And of course, sometimes it requires being engaged, and sometimes it requires consequences and repercussion, if you know what I mean.
Indeed.
But him coming in, we definitely will see for his body language that he means business. And from not even just the body language, from the decisions he's taken so far and the statements he's made so far.
I mean, saying that Asiwaju means business, it's like he's been meaning business for 30 years ago.
That's right.
Just waiting for the right moment.
Opportunity. Yeah.
Yes, for the opportunity. And so in that sense. Thank you for calling in, Dr. Fashiaki in Akure. Good morning to you.
Good morning, my brother. How are you?
Very well, sir. Thank you for calling in.
I'm happy to be alive to witness Tinubu being sworn in as the president of Nigeria. He has been on this for the past 30-something years. I want us to go down a memory line.
Okay.
Go back to 1993. When Shivenki Abiola and Tofa was in an interview at the NTA, I was right inside the studio. And they asked Shivenki Abiola if he's going to increase the pump price of fuel. He said, I'm an accountant. Before I could do that, I will know the pump price, the cost of producing a liter of fuel. Because what they are selling to us now is black market. And after knowing that, I will ask Nigerians to ask if we are to increase or we should sell at a loss. Tinubu has been involved in Abiola, and that's why he said farewell to poverty. That's the slogan of 1993. And Tinubu now said renew hope. What I'm now saying in essence is that the Nigerians should be patient. Tinubu said he has removed subsidy. It's not even him.
It's not him. Yes.
It's because he's been sworn in. So we should be patient and let's know the cost price of that fuel before we start reacting. They have been saying fuel subsidy is scam. Maybe there won't be any increment in the price of fuel. Nigerians are our own problem. We are impatient.
Thank you very much.
We should be patient. We should be patient with Tinubu. Farewell to poverty, renew hope is the slogan of Hope 93. And renew hope is a renew hope of farewell to poverty. We should be patient. And that's my idea. That's my advice. Indeed. Tinubu is going to bring succor to all Nigerians. Thank you and God bless.
Thank you very much for calling in. Of course, okay, because this is happening right now, we spoke about that. But all sorts of commentators and students of the polity have known that we're going to have to fix two very important things: security and the economy. There are many other things.
Absolutely.
But grab hold of those two, because it is only when there is peace that you can plan for development.
That's right.
That essentially is what economic development and policy is. So I am expecting some more creative approaches, some more forthright. There's always room for politics, but somehow the electorate knows, the people know when you're, so to speak, frigging with them, as opposed to telling them like it is. Because when you do speak, they need to believe that you have spoken and that they can go to the bank with it.
You see, as regards that, everything that's happening, I expect anyways. There's no way a new administration comes through. You can hope all you want, but there are people who still will not agree.
Yes.
That's why you have the spectrum. You have the people you call innovators. They're about 2.5%. Then you have the early adopters. They're those who believe. And then you have the early majority. I think that's about the early adopters usually are about 13.5%. You have the early majority, 34%. You have the late majority, another 34%. And you have those you call the laggards, they're 16%. They want things the way they are. They don't want things to change. Now, it has to go through a process. So all they're looking at, all the adopters, the early and late majority, and everybody would look at would be, let's see what he's bringing to the table. Mm-hmm. And for those who know, there will be the ones who, it's like sometimes you get 90%, those who talk about you, 90% of those who talk about you have never met you. 5% of them have met you but don't know you. They probably just leave around, oh, I know him, he lives down the road. Then you get another 5% who have met you, who know you. They are the ones who will now sell what you represent to the rest of the 95%. So I would expect that he gets a total cooperation of both the National Assembly and the executive arms across the states.
And also from within his administration.
Absolutely.
Because we've seen situations where sometimes, to those of us on the outside, it looks as if those within the administration are working at cross purposes.
Correct.
Maybe not everybody is in an agreement with what the way Oga wants to go because of certain interests of theirs, and so they're busy muddying the waters and all of that. One just hopes that there will be very, very scant room for that kind of a thing.
Let's put it this way. A songwriter has written a song. He gives one to Fela, the same song, and gives Orlando Owo the same song. You cannot expect Fela to sing it the same way as Orlando Owo. Some would come and tell you, Oga, can we tweak it like this? And of course, for a stubborn man like Fela, he would insist, I want it the way I want it. I see President Tinubu in that light. Mm-hmm. He would have thought of it critically. He's a listener. He listens.
Indeed.
He listens before he takes his decision. But once the decision...
Once he made up his mind,
that's right.
And he has his whole team behind him,
that's right.
He's going to go for it.
And remember, he's always been gifted with the ability of putting
the right people in the right
capable hands.
Good morning, Mr. Fidel in Owerri. Thank you for holding on.
Thank you very much. My name is Chief Fidel Onyeneke. I want to say that there are lessons to learn from this reaction of Nigerians to a statement made by the president with all amount of passion and with all amount of sincerity. And such a statement was negatively interpreted and sincerely misunderstood, which led to the reaction of the marketers and so on. I will describe them as silent marketers because they've been waiting for an opportunity to exploit the people. That is why it becomes very paramount for the president to direct all governors to take action. Make sure that they sanction all the marketers that participated in the closure of the filling stations and that are still doing that now. But more importantly, this is apparently an indication that there is need to engage Nigerians because it shows the feelings of Nigerians at this particular time. National Orientation Agency and the state orientation agencies where they exist should engage Nigerians, educate them, enlighten them, let them change their attitudes and appreciate the fact that we have one country as it is now called Nigeria and that we must support our leaders by supporting what they are doing, that all the good things that they are doing aimed at uplifting the standard of the people. Let us use public relations, human relations, engagement, advocacy, and talk to Nigerians so that we change our attitude towards government. Since no one person is called government, but rather everybody should jointly support the government for us to achieve our aim. Thank you and God bless you. I'm Fidel Onyeneke.
Thank you very much, Chief Onyeneke, for calling in. Okay, I'll take a break now. Please stay with us. Our guest still is Honorable Dayo Bush Alebioshu.
Doubt and fear doesn't occur at the canvas, it shows in the canvas. It shows the conation of raw earthen material slabbed, stroked and molded at a pace provided by the doubt and fear. Every move way in the struggle of one to the other, merging the past to the present, brushstrokes of colors seen but not known. For when the wailing stops, the pieces settle down in abject beauty erected for a century of a century. Speaking, advocating, protesting as the arts are meant to be.
TVC News first with breaking news.
We cover the big political stories in Nigeria, but people want more than just politics.
Business news, sports naturally, but you need news to live by also.
Stories about education, health, personal finance, and hey, even lifestyle news.
Newspaper reviews, travel news, and much more.
Nigeria, it's more than just politics. It's life.
Start your day with us every weekday.
TVC News Breakfast. First, fast, balanced, and accurate.
TVC News first with breaking news.
Okay, welcome back. My guest is Dayo Bush Alebioshu, former member of the House of Representatives, goes back to the 6th and 7th National Assembly. This goes back to 2007. While we're on break, Mr. Ajayi called in from Mowe. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, Mr. Moderator.
Thank you for calling in.
Thank you very much for allowing me to talk with you. I'm listening to what is happening. I just want, as the president reacted to the issue of DSS and the AFCC, I want him to react immediately and seal up all the filling stations that are contravening the laws of the land. Let them forfeit the filling stations to the federal government. They can't be exploiting us like this. That is my own contribution. Please, let the president seal up the filling stations.
All right.
As long as the filling now was bought with subsidized money. So they cannot be exploiting us.
Exactly.
We are the enemies of ourselves. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ajayi. We can, on occasion, be our own worst enemies. seems to be what Mr. Ajayi is saying, and rightly so, as a matter of fact. But you mentioned in passing a crucial agency, in my opinion, talking about the National Orientation Agency and the role it has and the part it is supposed to play in, the success of an administration through working with the orientation of the citizenry. They have been heavily criticized in the past. Colleagues across the media in different stations, different radio stations, different TV stations, have always been saying, what is the National Orientation Agency doing? How come we don't understand our part in all of this? Has it been a fair criticism?
Let's put it this way. There's a saying that goes, if your brand is unknown, it's a marketing problem. If your brand is known and not chosen, it's a branding problem. Through past administrations, the Nigerian Orientation Agency has been an appendage of the Ministry of Information. And there's enough for the Ministry of Information to do, which is more like marketing. The Nigerian Orientation Agency their functions is more like PR. You can't touch it, you just feel it happen. I would love to see a situation where it's pulled out from under the Ministry of Information and established on its own, where, you go on the airplane and a British, American, Canadian soldier comes in, people are clapping because of the way it's being programmed, the amount of PR.
The way they are seen.
That's right.
The respect that citizens have for their servicemen.
Absolutely. And it's based on their version of the Nigerian orientation. It's huge. Their functions are huge. They have to work with the movie industries. They have to work with the military. They have to work with the Nigerian. For you must desire. You see a lot of people who have the desire to join the Nigerian police. The police, the military.
The military.
That's how it's being branded abroad or elsewhere.
Oh, you mean, okay, yes.
Yes,
well.
but here it's as
because people are, sorry to interrupt you, just on what you are saying about, servicemen, foreign countries coming aboard a plane and people showing their appreciation and respect. People are even thanking them for their service.
Absolutely.
People are actually using the sentence, thank you for your service.
Absolutely.
Because of the uniform.
Absolutely.
Now, you think this is the equivalent of their own national orientation?
They're the ones who are...
The works that they have been doing.
They're the ones who are saddled with the responsibility of doing that.
Of shaping perceptions.
Perceptions, absolutely. And for as long as... we would see that change should it be pulled out completely and they're allowed to function, pulled out of from under the shadows of the Ministry of Information. We would see, I've always felt that would be the case.
Well, we'll come back to that if there's more to be said. Mr. Oladimeji in Ikorodu, good morning to you, sir.
Good morning.
Thank you for calling. Go ahead.
Good morning, Uncle YORI.
Good morning, sir. Please go ahead.
Oh, okay, my name is Oladimeji from Ikorodu.
Sure.
Yes, my contribution is like this. I think the president has made a very, very smart move, by making that decision right now, right? And it looks like it's paying off for him. Although we know that the subsidy regime is supposed to end by June 30th, right? If I were in his shoes, I will even stop it now. As in, that amount that we were supposed to use for the whole of June should be spent on something, other things that are meaningful for the country, right? So I think he has made a smart move by making sure he did it now, right? And so that whatever hardship anybody will face, let them face it and enjoy later.
All right.
And already people are already even praising it. People are already even rising up to the occasion. State governors are already saying, okay, lock up filling stations that are selling beyond pump price. And
exactly.
All of that. So I think it's a very smart move by the president. It's a very smart move. Kudos to him. God bless Nigeria.
Thank you very much, Mr. Oladimeji. If there's one thing that Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu has, it is courage. That's what people around him have said.
That's leadership.
That is leadership.
That is leadership.
People have always spoken about the courage of the man. Even people who are not politicians, staying on the outside, have seen indications of that. In other words, they've seen moves that he has made that they would have never have made, and they would not have advised anybody to make. But we've seen Tinubu, going there very, very much like in the Yoruba people, they say, Omo that he is. And that's why people are, Mr. Oladimeji was just saying that he did it at the right time. From the very beginning, let's get down to business. We're not playing around here.
That's right. Well, there's what you call leadership and decision-making. It's something I have seen him do time and time again. You shouldn't be bothered about popularity. What you do is you focus. Your decisions are usually geared towards a goal. You know what your goal is, you know what decision is required, and you take those decisions. And for everybody, or those who have worked with and around him, you would see them exhibit those things, because it's kind of rubbed off on them. As it is right now, he's doing his thing. You can see focus.
He has started the job.
Absolutely.
While everybody else seems to be getting geared up for it, it appears that he has actually started, even from the stadium, from the Eagle Square.
That's right.
That was quite defining.
That's right.
People were waiting to hear what he would say on that, and when he came there, he said, "It's gone."
That's right. Not just that. That's not the only thing. That's just what we're talking about right now. He sent a message, a loud message to the whole world saying, listen, we're going to cut. How come nobody's talking about the two-tier foreign exchange rates? Saying, no, we're not going to do that. How come they're also not holding money right now, foreign exchange? Since he said that as well. How come nobody's doing that? Why aren't people taking their monies out of the bank? Because he also said, we have to reduce exchange rates. Why aren't people doing that? So it's intentional. The same thing he said in that area is what he also said as regards to subsidy. So if people are doing this, it's simple, it's straightforward. Let the state governors, regardless of what party, you don't have to like the president. All you just need to do is do what you need to do for the sake of the country and for the people of the country. The governors, the president, have all been elected to make life easier and better. Nigerians have survived. Now they want to live.
They want to live a bit.
That's right.
Let me bring on Mike in Ikeja. Good morning to you, Mike.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. How are you? Congrats to everybody. Mr. Bush, congrats.
Indeed. Thank you very much.
Good morning, Mr. Mike.
Congratulating Nigerians.
Fantastic. The president has started on a very fantastic note. Whichever people looks at it, it's what we must deal with now. I'm begging him. Let him keep discussing with whoever the stakeholders are, marketers or whoever. Please, he must not go back. Hence, we are just postponing the evil day. Now we are talking of all this or that, and NSC is talking. I don't think they have the moral right to talk, because all the stars in NSC and all these so-called that have put us in this situation are NSC members. All the turnaround maintenance and everything, they are NSC members. NSC should go back and clean, just like the president said, house cleaning. Let them go and clean themselves before they come to the public. That's number one. Mine is, I always believe it has been done, is redone. What is next? Number one, we have BOVAS, which is a filling station that is trustworthy. Can the government also break the NNPC? It's a limited company now. Break the monopoly. Let BOVAS come in and trusted ones. Let them start importing fuel with strict monitoring by the DPR. DPR is supposed to monitor petroleum issues. So let DPR start monitoring. That's number one. Number two, we have pension contributed by people. The government can put it in CBN and start giving a sort of relief to those interested marketers at a single interest rate. You understand? Between now and December, so that to cushion now to relieve whatever issues they have. That's one. Number two, you can also say government does not really want to be involved in all these things, but the banks, discuss with them. Can you give them some loans at a very reasonable interest rate? And at the same time, we move on. You see, we've started. We don't want a president that will go forward and back. No, we have to move on. Thank you very much.
Thank you for calling in. And in this connection, well, investors, one of the papers this morning is reporting, its lead headline is that investors react positively as Tinubu meets Emefiele, Kyari, that's Kyari of NNPC, and Labour over petrol subsidy. This is, I mean, it's like we were speaking earlier about being able to depend on Tinubu to do the needful. Instantly, he's moved, and I'm sure we'll get some joy out of it, because you see, once we can be sincere with, I think that's another thing that Nigerians have been contended with, insincerity. Once we trust we don't have a president who is going to go down that route, you sort of wait the outcome. So he's meeting with these guys, Emefiele, Kyari of NNPC, and Labour, who has been threatening fire and brimstone, is meeting with all of them. Okay, guys, sit down, let's talk. Let's talk. And that's the way it should be.
To be honest with you, it might seem a bit pedestrian as regards Labour. I hope I'm forgiven for this, but I would still express my thoughts. It was discovered, we're dealing with societal issues. It was discovered that a fruit called soursop has a very strong effect on cancer. Treating cancer is a very expensive treatment. Soursop grows freely. The moment it was discovered that it works for diabetes, high blood pressure, and a few other things, boom. Soursop moved out of reach of the poor. Even the local agbo that used to sell for 1,500, 2,000, they now charge as much as 20,000, 25,000. The question is, if you will charge that much, and the reason the person who has come to you in the first place is because they're unable to afford the same 25,000 the hospitals will charge, nothing has happened. Now we're saying, Ashiwaju saying, he can't leave subsidy and talk about just fixing interest rates. But he put everything together, and from the speech you'd see that it's been well thought of, which sometimes you have to source for funding from outside of the nation. Now, when the exchange rate keeps fluctuating, what happens? You're not sure. There's no security. You're not sure, oh, I bought at 800 naira to the dollar. And when it comes to payment, it probably would have gone to 2,000 to the dollar. Is it going to be worth it? The answer is no. And he's saying we need to fix it. And what is causing it? Some get, I'm just going into that area now. Uncle Yori, you decide to import certain things, items, and you approach the banks, and they say, well, it falls within some of the things we're looking at bringing in. Then they sell to you the pound at, say, 500 to a pound. I also trade. I have a source of livelihood as well, where I approach the bank and they say, oh, I'm sorry, it doesn't fall within that bracket. But if you bring the funds, we will transfer it for you. I now go to buy the same pound that you bought at 500 for 950. I bring my things in. You now even get some tax exemptions and tax reliefs, which I don't. But when we bring in and we sell or we produce, we're taxed equally. Or I'm even taxed more than you. And he's saying this, and he's saying, where is the fairness? It has to be fair.
Indeed. So these are things that he's going to do. Engineer Godwin in Port Harcourt, good morning to you, sir, and thank you for holding on.
Good morning, my brother. Please,
good morning, sir.
I just want to make a contribution. Are you with me?
Yes, we can hear you. Engineer Godwin, we can hear you.
Good morning. How are you doing, sir?
Very well, sir. Thank you for calling. Go ahead, please.
Okay. Please, I'm calling from Port Harcourt, okay? Thank you. So what I want to say, yeah, I can hear you too. All right. My contribution is this. I want to say thank God for us to have President Tinubu today as the President of Nigeria. Yeah, I said I thank God for us to have Bola Ahmed Tinubu today as the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So what we are seeing now about what these marketers are doing, these filling stations, is something that is not, it's uncalled for, because this fuel that they are hoarding and selling to us right now at a high price is already been subsidized. Okay? And by the grace of God, I will want them to put a policy that all these people that are selling fuel along the street, there should be nothing like that again in Nigeria.
Yeah.
Because when you do that, you already put a stop to these people that are holding fuel. Okay, so this is just my little contribution. Thank you.
Thank you very much for it, Engineer Godwin from Port Harcourt. And related to what you were saying last, it's about undoing some naughty kind of issues, problems. Remember, Ashwaju has spoken about his displeasure with the undergraduates being admitted, to school. It's normally supposed to be a 4-year course, but they never know, they never can tell with the way the school administrations have been. They never can tell if they're going to graduate in 4, 5, 6, 7, or even 8 years from now. Tinubu has said that none of that. He said that before assuming office, and I'm sure this is something he's going to work on. And of course, there are implications to that. You can't just say it with mouth, as our people say. There are going to be approaches that is going to be, to everybody's advantage, everybody's benefit. There will be a mutual satisfaction, because I think it's going to go there, whatever it is. It's going to go there. It never used to be like this.
See, we have over time talked about the declining nature of the educational sector. And if you remember, you cannot separate it from the foreign exchange rates. When our exchange rate was strong, we had people, teachers coming from Ghana. We had Lebanese teachers, we had British teachers, we had French, we had all sorts of people.
We had all of them.
And then, because our exchange rate was worth them coming here. Now, how do we now talk? Any nation, if you look at the UAE, you look at the United Kingdom, the United States, you will never go to any hospital, for example, and see that they are predominantly Americans, or they're predominantly British, or they're predominantly Germans. You would see a mix of the world, because it means they would have brought in the best of brains to perform a certain function. Now, for us to move from where we are to where we want to be, it means we have to fix a few things that will attract the brains that we require. When we look and we're quick to say, oh, this Nigerian professor is doing very well in America. This Nigerian teacher is doing well there. So why do we frown upon having a situation where we can also have the best brains come here? And to fix that, some of the things that Shiwaju had mentioned that he would do would be very important. He's, like I said earlier, he's not somebody who aims, who shoots and hopes. He aims before he fires. That way he gets his target.
Okay.
And that's why he's been so accomplished.
Let me see if I can squeeze in. This call is coming from the UK. Cash, I believe it is. Good morning, Cash.
Yes. Good morning.
Okay, thank you for calling in. Go ahead, please.
Good morning, Uncle Yori.
Good morning, sir.
Firstly, I would like to thank our new president, President Tinubu, regarding the way he has already intervened with DSS and EFCC. He said that he's a father for the nation. You see, something happened in Lagos, and it's in Abuja, and he has to intervene. It shows that he keeps to his promise that he's the president for all states, unlike our previous.
Let's not. We're talking about this administration. Yeah. So you were saying that you're happy that he has reacted the way he has reacted. Thank you very much for calling in, Mr. Cash. Appreciate your call. In fact, we have just about used up a whole lot. When we get talking about interesting subjects like this, time flies, doesn't it?
Yes.
So I want to thank you very much, Honorable Dayo Bushale-Bioshu, for coming along this morning. And but I really would like you to come again. I'm sure we can arrange that.
I'd be more than happy.
Talk a bit more about it.
It's always a pleasure being on your program.
Indeed. Thank you very much. So that's it. Our guest today has been Honorable Dayo Bushale-Bioshu, former member of the House of Representatives, going back to the 6th and 7th. His 2 terms were started from 2007. Once more, thank you for making time for us. So that's our program today. Please join us tomorrow for a fresh edition. I am YORI FOLARIN. Bye-bye for now.
Partnership with Wild Aid will bring you a documentary series on environmental issues affecting Nigeria's amazing biodiversity, from climate change, air pollution, and wildlife conservation. We will be traveling across Nigeria to give you on-the-ground report of the issues affecting our environment. It airs every Saturday at 4:30 p.m. only on TVC News.
Coming up in the month of May, the 1st is International Workers' Day, the 3rd is World Press Freedom Day. On the 5th is the 13th anniversary of President Yar'Adua's demise in 2010. While from 12th to 16th of May are days dedicated as United Nations Global Road Safety Week. The 16th of May is International Day of the Boy Child. World Hypertension Day is on the 17th. And on the 27th is Children's Day. 29th of May is Nigeria's Inauguration Day, the commencement of a new 4-year tenure of another administration. On the 31st,